What's up, everyone? So, being in real estate as a father or a parent is something that does not come for the faint of heart. And I think in today's world, a lot of people kind of ignore that fact, or they don't have kids, or there's a lot of, gurus and stuff on the internet that just show you that, hey, put off having a family, putting off doing this. But the reality is there's a lot of us, I think, who have kids and have been able to figure it out. And today I have Brice with me, and he is the host of the Fire podcast, which is Fathers in Real Estate, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And I think we're on the same path and aligned in the same values. And I had to have him on. So I met Brice, I think it was about a year ago. Had a referral coming my way to the West Coast. And since then, I think I've just watched you on social media, man. And I've been nothing but impressed. I think we align very well. So why don't you introduce everyone, let them know what you're about and where you come from.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you for having me on today. Like I said, man, it feels weird being on this side of the table. Yeah. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, cover the whole upstate. I've been in real estate just over 2.5 years. So, for me, it's a full-time job, but having that flexibility to put family first while you grow a business is huge.
So what made you get into real estate to begin with 2.5 years ago? And what were you doing before that?
So prior to real estate, I was an occupational therapist.
Okay.
Was about 6 months away from getting certified to be a hand therapist.
Oh, cool.
On the way to work, August 2nd of 2019, car pulls out in front of me on a 4-lane highway, totaled my car, break both of my wrists. So dealing with that, doing outpatient orthopedics, COVID hits, 3-4 months later.
Yeah.
Boss looks at me and says, "You're a liability now. See you later." So March of 20, when life changed for everybody else, it changed for me as well. My wife was 7 months pregnant, but we were expecting. Yeah. And so long story long, real estate's always been in the back of my mind. And I felt like that was a sign from God saying, you didn't listen, so I'm gonna have to teach you the hard way. Now's your time to do this. And with everything shutting down, luckily in South Carolina, real estate was still going, and a big attraction point. A lot of people moving in from all over the country. So just jumped in head first, 180 miles an hour, and hadn't looked back.
So you got licensed end of 2020 then?
August or early September of 2020. Yeah.
Damn, a couple months before me. Cool.
Yeah.
I see. So I'm glad you're on. I love that, man. Is it a son or a daughter you have?
So I've got a 6-year-old son, and then a daughter. She'll be 3 in a month.
It's crazy. What were some of the fears you hit and some of the issues you ran into when you first got licensed?
Oh, man. Well, just the world in itself was nobody knew what was going to happen. Nothing, nobody knew what was going on. Yeah. And going from salary-based to commission-based, knowing what I brought in each month to now having zero, and just trying to figure out a whole new business. So for me, it was that lack of stability and that comfort of knowing that check was coming in every 2 weeks.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get your first closing?
So for me, I was lucky. I'll call it luck, or just being in the right place at the right time. Yeah. I had 2 deals my first 6 months. Nice. Both of those were listings. So even I consider myself very lucky with that.
That's awesome. Where'd they come from?
Actually just, everybody says they hate sitting in the office and doing phone duty, and it was my old brokerage, and it was phone duty.
Hey, I got started doing ISA work, so weird. The ones that are still here kicking it, phones were involved in somehow.
I know. So it was luck, and looking back on those 2 deals, being listings right off the bat really, really helped. Awesome. And I was like, hey, this is going to work out.
The bad news is 87% of real estate agents in the first 5 years of business fail because of lack of knowledge and resources. The good news is that there are solutions out there. Me and a partner have stepped out and created the Tired Agent Blueprint. This blueprint is an exact way how to build more leverage in your business and reduce stress in the next 30 days, guaranteed. This course will teach you how to use VAs, raise business credit, and so much more about where you get leads from. How do you actually build a business where you can actually include your family, not push them away estate and actually build a real business that you can be proud of, that you can pass on to your kids, and you can create that actual generational wealth and freedom that so many of us have started on this journey to find. But I'm sure if you were just like me, you were in a position where you probably aren't feeling that. So if that's you and you actually want to build leverage in your business, you actually want to build a modern day real estate business, then I promise you this blueprint is for you. Head to tiredagents.com/special. Right now, the course is in the final stages of production. I'm currently buttoning things up with my partner, and we're running a massive special. So go ahead and head to tiredagents.com/special, sign up, get on the email list to be notified when it gets released. And I promise you, if you want to build a leverage real estate business using modern methods and technology, this is the course that will take you from A to Z and how to do that, and also to include your family even more than you already are.
I feel like everyone's so nervous the first time. Did your first broker go with you on that first appointment, that listing appointment?
They did not. They asked, and they asked, and it was an older gentleman, and he was old school, and we just connected right off the bat. So I was like, awesome. I got it, and if I don't, I'll come back and help after that. But so we ran through it, everything before I went out, but it was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah, no, I get that. So obviously, I think like most of us, you get absorbed into this industry pretty quick in chaos. How old were your kids then? I'm assuming your wife gave birth a couple months after you got licensed. So probably around the time you had that first listing, right?
Yeah. So when I had that first listing, that would have been, it was 2020. So my youngest had just turned 4. And then my youngest one was 6 months, 5 months, 6 months.
Did you ever hit a point in the beginning where you kind of stopped and like, holy crap, I'm working a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Was your wife supportive during that time, or were there points, I'm sure, being a mom with 2 kids, I'm sure she had some struggles of her own?
Yeah. So, we always run everything by each other. Yeah. We talked about it. We read out the pros and cons, and where I was in my physical state and mental state, it was, just I told her, I was like, give me 3 years.
Yeah.
Give me 3 years. I can always go back. I'll always find something, but I'm jumping in 100%. So
it's awesome that you had such a longer view and mindset. I feel like it's really weird how a lot of agents get into the industry. And I guess now that we're on 2.5, coming up towards that mark coming to next year. I mean, I'm now doing my license renewal. So I'm like, oh man, like I'm already renewing my license. But it's weird to see how some agents get involved and like, oh, just give me 6 months. And it's like, I think it's weird that you had, what made you have like a longer mindset? Have you always just had like a long-term view of the way you did things, or?
Yeah. I guess I have. And then just being in those situations, I knew, first of all, I was still recovering. It was going to take me a little while. It was a whole new industry, and I know I can do anything I put my mind to. Now, how long will that take? That's another story. But, my thing was, I'm going to make ends meet. We're not going to have to struggle, but just give me 3 years and let me prove to you that, because that's in my mind, I felt that's when everything would be rolling and kind of connecting at that point.
That's awesome. How have you managed to fit your business around having family and kids? Because I think as agents, it's very easy, whether we're doing actual income activities or wasting time. But did you hit a point where you're like, okay, I think I need to restructure this, or you start to gain knowledge? You're like, hey, I think I need to change some things in order to make sure I'm balancing. Well, for what balance you can have in life, but that family and work life.
Yeah. So coming from the medical field, I didn't really have that luxury. It was you're here for patients, and if there's something going on, if you get off, that's
makes sense.
Awesome. But now being a business owner, I probably have the wrong mindset. But if my family's got something going on, they're coming first. I'm out with the baseball field 3 nights a week with my youngest, with my son.
Awesome. Yeah.
Church on Wednesdays, church on Sundays. So I make sure I maximize the hours that they're at school. Mm-hmm. And not having anything going on to maximize that, so I can't have that time.
That's awesome.
Now there are nights where I've had some clients in Pacific time zone where I'm on Zoom at 10 o'clock at night because it fits their schedule, but my kids are asleep. So just trying to really balance, and I'm still working on that balance. But if I can justify it, I'm with the kids
during that time, I imagine.
Yeah, so I almost tripled my business last year.
Crazy.
And I'm on track to kind of do the same numbers this year.
Where are you getting most of your leads from? Like, what are like the major activities you think you're finding the best bang for your buck being a father, trying to make this work?
Right. It's referrals. It's
awesome.
Referrals from other agents that I'm building. And now I'm getting involved in the community more. We've found our place. I got my car wrapped with my head on the side of it. So
yeah, I saw that picture. That's awesome.
I'm still trying to get used to that, man. But they're seeing me at school. They're seeing me at daycare. They're seeing me at the ball field.
Yep.
So they're just starting to kind of put that together. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. What's funny is you get a lot of your business from referrals. Have you ever had any pushback in the beginning? It's like, hey, Brice, like, you got to pick up the phone more, man.
Every day.
It's crazy.
Every day.
Even after tripling your business, they still get some pushback.
Yeah. They're like, got a cold call, got a call. And, I know everything goes back to the phone, but that's not ever been me and it's not my style. Yeah. And I know my business could be potentially that much more ahead.
Yeah.
But for me to balance and everything, I'm growing at my rate where I need to. Yeah.
So what are some big goals you have for your business coming to the next, you look at like a 5-year period? Like what's your overall goal? Are you trying to build a team? Do you think you're going to stay solo with just some minor support for showings? Like what's that goal look like for you in order to keep that balance?
So I've always been a solo agent since I started, and I say always, it's only been 3 years, but
time goes fast now in the modern world.
Yeah. Some days it feels a little bit longer. But my goal is to have a small team here locally. And then, through EXP and that benefit and that opportunity that we have, I want to have an organization to grow that.
Yep.
So where I can have that work-life balance a little bit more. And I don't have to be selling 500 homes a year. To me, that doesn't matter. Yeah. It's what I can sustain for my family and my lifestyle. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. But,
that's a refreshing mindset. I feel like a lot of agents they're chasing the dollar so much. I mean, how often do we see, I think we were talking before the call, all like the coaches coming out of the woodwork now, because now there's a little pain in the economy, and all the coaches are coming out of the woodwork like, I'll help you do this and this transactions. It's refreshing to hear that you're focused like, hey, you make $1 million, but I need to make sure my family's taken care of.
Oh yeah. Now if I can make $1 million or $2 million or however many,
of course, but not the sacrifice to your family is what I'm getting at.
Right. Yeah. And another way I look at it too is, my kids are younger and we're not going to have that time back. So if I can balance it now, and as they get older and more involved and they don't need us, well, then I can put more time and effort into the business too.
Right. No,
that might be the backwards way.
Maybe. I don't know, man. It's like, I feel to look at it and like, sure. Like I think we both know that. I'm sure you've had this thought, and it's like, sometimes you get mad at yourself for it, but it's just because we're always thinking, I'm always moving as business owners. It's like where you look at it and you're like, man, if I didn't have to obviously have my kids, like imagine how I've been able to grow my business now. Oh my God. Imagine if I didn't have anything holding me down. The fact of the matter is like, I don't think we'd be where we are if we didn't have kids. And a lot of people think that it's like a weight, but in reality, I mean, what better purpose to know that, wow, if I don't do this, like there are days I'm sure you wake up and you're like, man, I really don't want to have to call this client right now. Whether they could be the sweetest old woman and it doesn't matter. You're just like, I just don't want to do this right now. But those kids, I feel like is a motivator, because someone has to put food on that table. I think as men, we could easily just live in a van down by the river. But the fact of the matter is like, we don't expect our family and our wives to.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing is, they're my big why. They're why I do what I do and why I jumped in like I did, I missed out on a listing appointment a couple of weeks ago because I was going to pick them up from school. And, it kind of made me rethink some things, but I'm like, if I don't get that opportunity back, I'm still where I needed to be that day. The pocketbook hurts a little bit or whatever people use these days, but
Right. Oh, well, you mentioned some faith in church, so I'm assuming you're a man of God.
Yes, sir.
Very, very deep. I love that. So I think you believe that like there's a plan for us. Now, I'm sure there's doors that open, and we have to choose whether to take them or not. But I think if you're like me, you understand that I'm like, all right, there's a plan, and I just need to keep being honest and true to myself and my family, and I think everything will work out.
Right.
And like, I love that you're focused on the community, because I think a lot of agents nowadays, it's like the California effect, because it's just a big city. They're all so focused on the dollar amount, but it's like, well, what do you do for your community? Like, I coach for AYSO, my son's soccer team. They didn't have a coach. I'm like, hey, did I know anything about soccer? No. I grew up with football and wrestling and hockey. I didn't know anything about soccer, but I coached it because he wasn't going to have a coach. And, it's being involved in that community. I think agents need to get back to. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree 100%. I coached T-ball the past 2 years for my son's team because they didn't have coaches.
Right.
That was the longest baseball career I've had in my life.
Do you ever feel like you were like, when you started to coach, the first time you coached, that you were probably more nervous than probably going in that first listing appointment? That's how I felt when I first was like, coach? I'm like, well, maybe it's because I'm younger, but I was like, coach? Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's that. And then it's like, okay, I've got these 3 and 4 year olds trying to teach them baseball or T-ball. It's, it's herding cats. And like you're saying, there was definitely more pressure with that than that first listing appointment. I would agree. Absolutely. But yeah, to answer your question, I definitely feel like, especially with the way the economy and everything is now, everybody's chasing that next transaction.
Yeah.
And yes, we all are, because we all have to eat. But like we were talking, is when you give more, you're going to get more. Being able to give back, everything will follow. And it's not on our time. It's the bigger plan that's out there that we just can't see.
No, I love that. How do you think, man? I think as fathers, we always like our biggest goal is to make sure our sons grow up or really all of our kids. It doesn't have to be just sons, but they grow up to be, successful and like just happy in what they do. Do you ever see it becoming like a Woodberry family business, or where do you think you see them going? I know, I'm sure you just want them to be happy, but do you ever wonder if like, man, is this going to span generations?
Yeah, if that's something he wants to do, then go for it. He's almost 7 or 6.5, and he's talking about law enforcement or something along those lines, which I think every kid does at one point. But
it's true. I'll go through the phases.
Some of us don't grow out of those, but if that's something he wants to do, and hopefully I can build something that if he wants to fall into it, he can. And if he doesn't want to, maybe his little sister does, but it's there, and that opportunity is there if they want it. But they still need to be able to work and know that value.
Isn't that the hardest thing, trying to teach them?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like you always wonder, you never know if you did good parenting until they're 30 and their life has really started to gain traction. And then I guess that's what I've been told. Then you start to figure out if you did a good job or not. Man. So you say you got the real estate bug in the past. Where did that first start? Like, where did you first get the itch? And was it always to be an agent, or was it just the general industry itself? And where did you first get that fire? Did your family have businesses growing up, or is it just, you're like, man, there has to be something more?
No, I mean, my mom was a school teacher, single parent for most of our time growing up, and we had law enforcement in our family. So it's always those, your typical small town job, I guess. Those are the big things that fund that community. I really don't know where the bug came from, but I knew that there was an opportunity in real estate, something you always hear about. I just didn't do the due diligence when I was younger and should have. Yeah. So I knew that potential was unlimited, and I didn't want to be stuck at a 9-to-5 for the rest of my life. So I knew that real estate was going to be the way out. I just didn't know how and when.
Right.
If that makes any sense at all.
No, I think that makes complete sense. Yeah, I mean, I think you can attest to too. What's funny is, especially in real estate, is you don't even have to stay an agent if you don't want to. What's funny is, I think even as being an agent, like the amount of people you meet, I mean, how many people do you meet in a year, whether other people in EXP, other agents or clients, you're just like, wow, I can't believe I met this person.
Oh, it's crazy. And I can talk to, not on camera and like this, but I can talk to pretty much anybody, anywhere. But now that I have something to kind of talk to people about, or we can have that conversation, it really over the past year since joining EXP and just being nationwide now, really being able to kind of come out of that shell of being local here. But the people are awesome. That's what I loved about the medical field. You never a dull moment. You're always meeting cool people, and So that's huge for me.
That's awesome, man. Did you start with EXP?
I did not. I was with a smaller, I guess they're regional brokerage. Okay. And I was with them for about a year.
What made you leave to move to EXP?
Just the opportunity. It was about this time of 21 where business was kind of dead. Right. And it shouldn't have been that way because of how many people were relocating to the area. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't have the resources and the support. So I felt stuck, and I was like, gotcha. I've got to change my environment. This has got to work. And then that's how I came across EXP.
Who brought you into EXP? Because I've seen a lot of people who leave because they just choose a bad sponsor, or they didn't do their due diligence. And did you spend time kind of looking into it? Because you probably saw it and you're like, okay, did you look to see who you would join, or did you just get lucky enough to find someone that kind of just was able to clearly show you what you needed to see?
So I come across it on Instagram. And if you know GoGo Bethke, Team GoGo, she's got a huge organization. Yeah. She sponsored an agent. It's Cody and Ty Brown out of Michigan. And they're big on community, giving back to the community. And awesome. We just clicked. Yeah. We probably talked 3 or 4 months, just back and forth on Zooms, text and everything. And just the amount of support and just community that I felt that I didn't have when I was sitting at a table with other agents here was just mind blowing. And, it really does make or break what your experience, I feel like, at EXP, but I couldn't have picked a better group to be a member of, and it's been awesome.
See, we're in separate groups, and I had the same experience. And I've firmly come to believe that once you get past probably the complete bottom level of EXP, because there's always a bunch of churn at that level, like any brokerage would have. It's just amazing how people just tell you everything.
Oh yeah.
It's just they'll tell you everything. And it doesn't matter who it is. Catch them at the right time. Heck, you can probably meet Glenn Stanford, and I've heard that guy will just start having a conversation with people. Just how the company's based.
I know, and you mentioned somebody before we're talking. Curtis Johnson. And when I first started being big on Instagram, well, he was reaching out to Cody and GoGo, and he's like, "Who's this Brice guy?" I'm like, "I've never met him." Yeah. And I've got this big agent out on the West Coast asking about me. I'm like, "Holy crap!" It's awesome. Well,
we've been talking before this. Anyone who's an agent probably knows Mike Sherrard. I had him randomly call me last year because I was at Real Broker, and he was doing a comparison video. And I'm like, at that point, or maybe it was last year, it was a little bit before that, but even then at that point, I was like, I want to close 6 deals. You know what I mean? What are you calling me for, dude? It's just, but yeah, it's crazy. And it's funny, you said, I think at EXP, looking at what you've done, is that, isn't it weird how, I don't know if it's weird. I think it's just how, how the universe is. It's when you put out good energy, it just seems to come back in your direction.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. It's like you're saying, everybody's just open. And I'm like, if I would have had this exposure 2 years ago, I always wondered where could I be? Yeah. It's easy to look back and say that, but
no, I get it. But like you said, it's once you get to a point where okay, I've kind of figured out how to generate leads and service clients. What's next?
Right.
So I don't think any of us want to be 70 just servicing clients, which is great, but that's all. That's all we left in our life. And now you get to receive a piece of the company's dollar for just giving back. I see your hat says, what is it, Impact Agents? What's that?
Impact Agents, yeah.
Is that the name of your upline, or?
Yeah, so that's Cody and Ty's organization, awesome. And I've kind of run off of that, and it's just being an impact, whether it be
great,
say family, community, whatever you do, just being that impact.
Well, see, you have the Fire podcast. What caused you to start that?
I think it's just as much for me helping me kind of get through some things growing up and all that. But when you look around, there's some big powerful women and moms groups and everything. And I feel like as dads or as men, we're brought up, or maybe our generation might be the last, but there's a lot of this is what you have to do. This is how you should act as being a guy, being a male, being a head of the household. And I don't feel like there's a community, or we don't talk about it as much as we should. So for me, it was trying to create something to just bring everybody together. And
well, I'll be honest, man, I saw you start a podcast. I'm like, God, oh, like, I knew I should have done this. I'm like, Brice is doing it. I should do it too. Like, no joke. That's literally, I think I saw it. I'm like, man, you know what? I'm like, he doesn't make it seem that complicated. Why can't I do it? It's true, man. It's true. Because I saw your first episode go out and I'm like, you know what? I'm already doing YouTube. I'm already generating leads from it. I'm like, why am I not doing this?
Right.
My wife already says, I'm like, I'd love to talk to myself and I have a good time with it. So I could be my own party at this point because I just get excited and passionate about things. So I love that, man.
Right.
I definitely understand the topic. And what's funny is, you chose obviously fathers in real estate. It's funny because like, you're right. I mean, the men in this industry, either they're divorced, they give up the relationship with their kids in order to build it. And it's like, what's the point of having anything without that?
Right.
I could be a billionaire if I have nothing at 70. Like, what's the point? And or it tells you that, you just need to not have kids, not get married, and you're just going to be a hustler and doing all this stuff, which obviously if you're a man of faith and believe in actual traditional values, like that's not what you want in your life.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's just that community and a place for us if you got something, it doesn't even have to be real estate related. And I hope to grow and open that up to just entrepreneurs, as a whole.
For sure, man. I'm sure you probably just started with the niche because it's what you already know already. And then you're going to see where it goes from there. No, I get that.
Exactly. It took me 6 months to start it. I had everything sitting on my desk for about 6 months and finally just had to bite the bullet and get over myself.
Yeah. Do you always have guests or do you have some solo stuff you do as well? And
so far it's just been interview style. It's all guest and, working my way up to, if somebody wants to listen to me ramble for 30, 45 minutes, then I'll do that. But, I feel like everybody wants the opportunity to be featured on something, and just to hear what other people can bring to the table is huge.
Yeah. Have you interviewed someone who's probably never been interviewed before yet?
Oh yes, I've had several. Yeah.
Isn't the reaction afterwards like the best? I'm like,
it's going to be
don't
like
care
ours.
if one person views this episode. It's like the greatest feeling. What's funny is it's kind of selfish because it makes us feel good at the same time, but the reality is like, it's cool. Everyone has a story to tell,
Oh yeah.
It's just like, how do you get it out there?
Yeah. One of my guests, he's like, I was so nervous. I was getting ready to text you and say something came up and I wasn't even going to do it. But, thankfully he stayed on and it was one of the best ones we've had. So
see, now you changed your life because now it's someone handing their story out there, especially for young men who are growing up. Obviously I have 3 boys. So I know girls in this house, but I think it's so important. One thing I love and passionate about is like giving back to especially the young boys,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you hit right on the nail. I mean, the cool thing is being a coach is like giving back to that community. Do you have other events and goals in your community that are like coming up that you're like, man, this is big that I just need to get back? Like, what are your plans with the community to where you can, like, what's your impact you're striving to have?
What I try to do with each closing and commission is I give back to a charity of my client's choice. Out of every commission check, that's a goal of mine as well. And then just being active in, church and school, and it may not be me directly sponsoring the event, but just being there to help and participate and just make sure everybody has the opportunity to do that event.
That's cool, man.
And down the road, we've talked about, I don't do 5Ks, but there's a pretty big group around here that does 5Ks and just trying to raise money for different causes and, just supporting local businesses too, local small businesses.
I love that, man. I mean, heck, I have a wooden sign down here I just bought from a local business out here. And yeah, it's like the greatest thing. I don't know why, but yeah, small business can't be supported enough. Mm-hmm. I love that, man. I definitely am not at the giving back stage yet. It's going to be this year though, especially with new endeavors. It's just, I'm trying to figure out who I want to give back to. It's like the toughest things. Like I know I want to give money and it sits there. I'm like, I need to give it. I'm like, where do I want to get? It's probably gonna be something child related because I'm just very passionate about like supporting kids, especially like I'm sure you see in T-ball, the kids that the parents can't afford equipment. and or like, well, we get a whole plus. They're like, for the soccer team, they're like, oh yeah, well, it's funny because people never bring this, so they don't push it enough. But they're like, oh yeah, we have a whole list of kids that get on the list, but they can't afford anything. I'm like, why didn't you say something? You know what I mean? Like, right. How is anyone going to help them if you don't? Oh yeah, we got a list of kids who can't afford it. Like, okay, like right. Sports are like the greatest thing ever. Whether you're good at it or not, as a kid, it's just getting out there and doing it.
Right. And another thing, you just kind of brought this back up with you talking is, I'm going to partner with hopefully a lender or two. And we're even looking at something I've thought about is looking at towards the end of the school year, kids who may have a balance of school lunches and going in and paying off those balances just so they don't have that hanging over their head. So that's something I'm trying to figure out for the next couple of months here too.
That's awesome, man. That's obviously I'm leaving Southern California. No, I have big goals of that. Moving out to Florida because like some of those communities are just, man, I grew up in New York, but South is just my vibe. I feel like communities are just way stronger out there than a lot of other places. And it's sorely needed. No, I love that, man. That's a good idea, actually, school lunches. Out here, they made it actually in San Diego County. All school lunch is free. They changed money for that, which is cool. But yeah, for some reason, sports are always an afterthought. For some reason, I feel like society nowadays thinks that like kids don't need to go out there and do that stuff. It's sad.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And like you're saying, if you would have had that list, being able to sponsor some of those kids, being able to donate equipment so they can go enjoy that things that we take for granted every day. Yeah, absolutely.
And plus what's an average commission check that like after that you take home personally that before dividing it up into charities and things like that?
I'd probably say about $8,000.
Right. So it's about the same here, national average. Like how crazy is it to where like once you get good enough, you start having a deal a month close, maybe a little bit more or less, like obviously it fluctuates. And I feel like a lot of agents take that and they just spend it. But I'm like I could be making like $500, I could be making $1 million, $100 a year. I'm like, I feel like there's always, well, it's just like, the Bible, you give your tithing, you give back and, you don't need all of it.
Right. Right. And to be able to give, you give and you give what you get.
Yep.
You give and it comes back.
Always, man.
Sometimes it's harder, but when you're doing what's right, it always comes back.
No, I love that. Well, man, dude, it's been a pleasure having you on. I think you have a great heart, and I think it's something I love being in great company, especially for someone who gives back, who actually cares about the community, because it's just not enough of it in the world nowadays, I feel like. But it's amazing to hear that you give back. If someone hears this and they're like, you know what, I align with you, whether they're an agent, they're looking to get licensed, or maybe they just want to reach out, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
You can catch me in my cheesy videos on Instagram. Nice. It's brice.w.realtor.
Awesome. And I'll link that down below too. And then the Fire Podcast, I will also post that. Is that on all platforms?
Apple, Buzzsprout, a couple of them. Still trying to figure all that out, man.
You're good, dude. You're good. I'm here.
I'll shoot you the link as well, man.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I'll take that. I know I got the link for the podcast, so at the very least, I'll put it out there, man, so you guys can listen to it if you like it. So, hey, I hope you guys got good value in this episode. I know I had a pleasure, and it's great to be with someone who cares so much about their community and giving back, especially being a dad in real estate. It's not an easy feat, and it's something that, it's very awesome when someone figures it out, and it's definitely someone you should follow. So, give Brice a follow. I hope you enjoy this one, everyone, and see you in the next one.
Thank you, Cameron.
Yeah.